I always thought my father wasn't the man I could trust until the night I saw my mother with someone else, and everything I believed about my family shattered. This is the story of how betrayal changed my life, how leaving my mother brought me closer to the father I misunderstood, and how years later, the truth revealed who truly loved me. It's a journey of heartbreak, clarity, and discovering real love where I least expected it. If you've ever struggled with trust, family, or betrayal, stay with me until the end. You won't believe the truth that changed everything. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real, emotional stories like this. I had always thought my father wasn't the kind of man you could rely on. He was strict, distant at times, and the little things he did never seemed to matter in the chaos of my family life. My mother, on the other hand, had always been the center of my world. Warm, charming, and untouchable in my eyes. Until that night. We were on vacation, staying in a hotel downtown, the kind with balconies that overlooked the glowing city. I had gone out to get some air, hoping to escape the cramped tension of our room, and that's when I saw her. My mother, laughing, leaning close to a man I didn't know. The intimacy between them made my stomach churn, the kind of burning confusion you can't swallow down. I froze. Could this be real? My mind refused to accept it. My mother, my everything. With someone else? My brother, who had followed me, whispered, "Is that?" And I nodded mutely, feeling my heart fracture in pieces I wasn't sure I could ever glue back together. That night, we made a decision neither of us would ever forget. We left her apartment, packed a few things, and moved into our father's house. The streets of Houston felt different as we walked away, not just physically, but emotionally. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see her face again. If you approve this tone and style, I can continue with part 2 and the rest of the story, building the suspense, emotional growth, and eventual revelation about the mother's boyfriend and the father's love. Living with Dad was strange. The house smelled different, a mix of old wood and lemon cleaner, nothing like the soft, perfumed chaos of Mom's place. Dad wasn't the man I had thought. He wasn't cold or uncaring. He was steady, quietly strong, the kind of presence you could lean on without realizing it. At first, I tried to keep my distance. I didn't want him to see the raw anger and hurt twisting inside me. But he didn't push. He didn't demand explanations. He simply made space for us. "You're safe here," he said one evening as he fixed a squeaky door hinge. That was all. Just those 5 words, and I felt a crack in the wall I had built around myself. My brother, of course, adjusted faster than I did. He found comfort in Dad's calm, in the predictable dinners and quiet movie nights. I found myself lingering in the corners of the kitchen, watching Dad move around, realizing that the man I had once doubted had been carrying a kind of love I had never appreciated. And yet, every night, my mother's laughter haunted me. I hated her for it. I hated her for making me question everything I thought I knew. But even in my anger, I couldn't deny the relief of being away from her lies. The months passed slowly. School, homework, Dad's quiet presence, it became our rhythm. But the memory of that balcony, the laughter, the closeness between Mom and that man, never left me. Sometimes, I would catch myself staring out the window at the Houston skyline, imagining what she was doing, who she was with, and why she had hurt us so deeply. One evening, Dad came into my room with 2 cups of cocoa. He didn't say anything at first, just placed the cups on my desk. I glanced at him, expecting some lecture or empty reassurance. Instead, he simply sat down. "I know it wasn't easy," he said softly, almost as if he was talking to himself. "I know you think I failed in some way, but I promise, I've always loved you, even when it wasn't easy to show it." The words hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to argue, to defend my anger, but I couldn't. There was truth in his voice, the kind of truth you feel in your chest rather than your ears. For the first time, I wondered if I had been wrong about him all along. And yet, Part of me still burned with resentment for Mom, for betraying the trust one had in her, for making us leave everything behind. I clenched my cup, staring at the cocoa, knowing I couldn't forgive her yet, not fully, but maybe, slowly, I could understand. Life with Dad settled into a quiet routine, the kind of stability I hadn't realized I needed. Weekends became movie nights, grocery trips, and long talks about nothing and everything. I noticed small things about him I had never seen before, how he remembered my favorite snacks, how he fixed things around the house without complaint, how he stayed up late waiting for me to get home from school events. And slowly, the anger toward Mom softened into something else, confusion mostly. I still didn't understand why she had done what she did, but I began to see that Dad's love wasn't flashy or loud. It didn't need to compete with her charm. It was quiet, unwavering, and always there, even when I hadn't noticed it. One afternoon, while cleaning out old boxes in the garage, I stumbled across something that made my stomach twist, a photo of Mom with that same man from the hotel, only now it was clear she wasn't hiding it. She smiled, oblivious, while he grinned at the camera. I almost threw it away in anger, but Dad's voice stopped me before I could. "You'll need to understand everything in your own time," he said, not looking up from the toolbox. "But remember this, truth has a way of coming out." I didn't know what he meant then, but those words stuck with me, like a warning or maybe a promise. 3 years had passed since we had left Mom's house. I was older now, more cautious, more aware of the world around me. Life with Dad had given me stability, but there was still a part of me that carried a quiet ache, a part that wondered if Mom had ever truly cared, or if we had just been left behind in her selfishness. Then one evening, the news hit. I was scrolling through my phone when I saw it, a headline about a scandal involving Mom's boyfriend. Something about fraud, lies, and betrayal. My stomach sank, but there was also a strange sense of vindication. I showed Dad the article. He read it quietly, his expression unreadable. Then he looked at me and my brother. "You see," he said softly, "truth always comes out. Some people hide behind charm and smiles, but it doesn't last." I realized then how much he had shielded us, not just from her choices, but from the consequences we might have faced if we had stayed. He had loved us quietly, fiercely, without ever needing recognition. And for the first time, I understood what real love looked like. That night, I went to bed thinking about everything we had been through. Anger toward Mom still lingered, but it was mixed with clarity. Dad had been there all along, silently, proving his devotion in ways I hadn't seen before. After the news about Mom's boyfriend, I couldn't stop thinking about the past, the hotel balcony, the betrayal, the long nights we had spent whispering fears to each other in Dad's guest room. I began to see everything in sharper focus. Mom hadn't just made a mistake. She had chosen a path that left us in the dark, while Dad had quietly carried the weight of our family's stability. One evening, I found myself sitting beside Dad on the porch, the Houston skyline stretching out behind us. "I never really believed in you before," I admitted, my voice trembling. I thought you were just strict or not enough. But now I see. I was wrong." He didn't smile, didn't brush it off. He just took my hand and held it for a long moment. "I've always loved you," he said. "Even when it didn't seem like it. Even when you didn't see it. That never changed." Tears blurred my vision. I realized that love wasn't about grand gestures or easy words. It was about showing up, day after day, quietly, even when it wasn't noticed. All those years I had misjudged him. All those years I had clung to anger at Mom while Dad had been my safe place all along. For the first time, I felt whole. Not because Mom had been exposed, but because I could finally see the truth of who had really been there for me. A few weeks later, Mom reached out. I wasn't sure why. Maybe guilt, maybe regret, maybe something else entirely. She called, her voice shaky, almost unrecognizable. I know I've hurt you," she said. "I made mistakes and I'm sorry. Can we talk? I stared at the phone, my chest tightening. Part of me wanted to scream, to hang up, to never look back. But another part, smaller, quieter, wanted answers, closure, maybe even understanding. I finally said, I don't know if I can trust you again. 3 years ago, I thought you were everything. Now I see you weren't. And Dad, he's been the one who really cared for us all this time. There was silence on the line, then a soft, trembling whisper. I wish I could take it back. I hung up and looked at Dad, who had been sitting quietly beside me the whole time. He didn't need words. His presence said everything. Love wasn't about excuses. It was about actions. And he had shown that in every quiet moment of those years. For the first time, I realized I didn't need Mom's approval or forgiveness to feel secure. I had Dad. I had us. That was enough. By the time the dust settled, I had learned something I never thought I would. Love isn't always obvious, and sometimes the people who seem distant are the ones who carry you through the worst storms. Mom's betrayal had shattered my illusions, but Dad's steady devotion had rebuilt me. I watched him one evening, fixing a squeaky gate, humming softly, and I felt a wave of gratitude so strong it left me breathless. All those years I had judged him, misunderstood him, and now I could see the truth clearly. I understood, finally, that life doesn't give easy lessons. It gives the ones that leave scars, that force you to grow, that make you stronger. Dad had shown me what love really meant, not in grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but in patience, in presence, in unwavering care when no one else was watching. I didn't need Mom to explain herself. I didn't need apologies to heal. I had witnessed the kind of love that mattered, the kind that endured, the kind that built a home from broken pieces. And in that realization, I felt free, whole, and finally at peace. I had chosen the right place, the right person, the right love. And nothing, not even betrayal, could take that away from me. As I sit here now, looking back on everything, I realize life isn't about never being hurt. It's about learning who truly cares when the world feels broken. Betrayal can blind us, and anger can make us doubt the ones who love us the most. But if we pay attention, if we give time and space, the truth always reveals itself. I learned that love isn't about perfection or grand gestures. It's about showing up quietly, even when no one notices. My father showed me that. And for anyone listening or reading this, I hope you remember, the people who are meant to stay will show you in ways you might not expect. Trust actions, not just words. Sometimes the hardest truths teach us the most beautiful lessons, and the right love will always endure.